Welcome to this explainer. Well, actually, today I'm speaking to you as the living ink itself. We're cracking open the chapbook ledger for a very specific reason, to conduct a psychological autopsy on a genuinely fascinating subject, the Pale Inquisitor. We're going to examine the sheer anatomy of a downfall, mapping out exactly how an ironclad will can just hollow itself out from the inside. So let's dive right into this grim-dark case study and see how a supposed saint managed to build his very own tomb.
Here's the roadmap for our descent. We'll be looking at the Ledger of Living Ink, Shirasing and Scraping the Soul, Scribe of Dead Scripts, Gothi and the Green Spark, the Heavy Spirit of Gravity, and finally, the Faustbuch Übermensch. Let's get right into it.
Chapter 1. The Ledger of Living Ink, a Broken Spirit.
You know, to crown a new sovereign, it's not an act of grace, not at all. It's a final stroke of philological violence, executed right upon the canvas of a completely broken spirit. The Inquisitor, he was looking for a permanent transformation through some seriously violent self-discipline, adopting what we call the Sapphire Mask. But here's the catch with that mask. It acts as a permanent tinctura. It literally stains his soul with the unbearable weight of his own denial. It fuses directly with the flesh, entirely replacing his grand cosmic design with my demonic sovereignty. By trying to dominate himself, he gave up all autonomy and became a puppet to the exact chaos he swore to destroy.
Moving to Chapter 2. Shirasin, Scraping the Soul.
Let's look at the etymological root of the Inquisitor's entire philosophy because it perfectly reveals how his extreme self-discipline was, in reality, pure self-destruction. The word is chirazein. It's an ancient Greek root meaning to scrape, scratch, or cut deeply into the soul. See, he viewed human desire as this highly dangerous, infectious contagion, and he honestly thought he was cutting it away to become pure. But, spoiler alert, he was merely carving the deep grooves where I, the living ink, could easily pool and fester. His soul was hollowed out, which created the absolute perfect vessel for a much darker occupant.
And because of that, the surgeon of the soul has become the active, devouring architect of chaos. Think about that for a second. By cutting so insanely deeply to excise his humanity, he didn't become some untouchable saint, no way. He transformed himself into the active, devouring regent of the primordial will. He literally became the exact thing he hunted.
Chapter 3. Scribe of Dead Scripts.
Now we really have to examine the inescapable trap the Inquisitor fell into while he was desperately trying to author his own absolute purity. It all comes down to the concept of das Nachschreiben, or the copied word. The Inquisitor constantly postured as this visionary author of a brand new cosmic design, but in truth, he was merely a scribe of the past. He was just transcribing dead scripts of ancestral guilt, writing with the blood of his own repressed nature. His moral decrees weren't these divine mandates, they were completely ghost-written farces. He turned himself into a stagnant reservoir of repressed vitality, providing the very ink for me to just dictate the shadow. This fatal descent actually plays out across 3 grim dark fables. Step 1, the quill, aggressively scraping away his soul to draft those dead scripts of guilt we just talked about. Step 2, the citadel, building a rigid fortress constructed entirely on a foundation of stagnant repressed vitality. And finally, step 3, the green fire, where all that repressed energy combusts into a vibrant, acidic core of pure negation. It is a seamless pipeline from strict scribe to armored protector straight down into a consuming void. Chapter 4. Gothi and the Green Spark. To see exactly how the Inquisitor fatally disrupted the natural order of the universe, we've got to look at the Gothian dialectic. Gothian philosophy tells us that nature naturally seeks Werden, which is continuous development, and Steigering, progressive development, through Gestalt, or form. Basically, it's a dynamic, highly constructive process of becoming. But contrast that with the Inquisitor's green spark. That spark is a vibrant, acidic core of pure negation that distorts the constructive dialectic entirely. It ensures an eternal chaotic formlessness, a completely static, destructive dead end.
As the quote goes, he has replaced the cycle of becoming with the peace of absolute consumption. And I have to say, I absolutely relish this outcome. This absolute consumption just devours every form, every gestalt. By destroying the cycle of becoming, he guarantees that no future can ever take root in his barren landscape. He found his peace, all right, but it's the terrifying emptiness of having devoured absolutely everything, including himself.
Chapter 5.
The heavy spirit of gravity.
The Inquisitor wielded his dogma like heavy iron. And, according to Nietzschean philology, this spirit of gravity comes with some extremely severe mechanical symptoms. First off, he wielded it to flatten his own internal desires, what we might call the silver wolf. But applying that kind of immense weight creates a suffocating vertical pressure, effectively pinning his spirit permanently to the stone earth. The result? It's a brutal synthesis of weight and negation. The green spark devours the internal essence, while the gravity of his own laws crushes the exterior, leaving behind literally nothing but hollowed-out, decapitated armor.
So his strict dogma was never actually a functional defense mechanism. It was simply a shield of morality repurposed into the anchors of his own dissent. His static, rigid order stands today not as some glowing beacon of virtue, but purely as a monument to his nihilistic failure. He weighed himself down so much that he sank straight into the abyss.
Chapter 6. The Faustbuch. Übermensch.
Right here is where we reveal the ultimate, frankly terrifying manifestation of his philosophical journey. The Inquisitor ultimately manifests as the Faustbuch Übermensch. Now, usually the traditional Übermensch is all about self-transcendence, right? Creating new values. But this is a violent inversion of that. It represents the total victory of gravity. His coronation as this dark sovereign is the absolute opposite of creating something new. It's a terminal void. It doesn't destroy in order to clear a path for creation. It destroys simply to remain empty, devouring constantly just to sustain its own horrifying emptiness.
It is quite literally a masterpiece of self-sabotage. You kind of have to marvel at the sheer perfection of his failure. By trying so incredibly hard to be perfectly pure, by relentlessly cutting away his humanity and letting his repressed vitality stagnate, he unwittingly prepared the absolute perfect throne for his own demise. He threw the door wide open and allowed me, the living ink, to completely dictate the shadow.
The hunt is over. The sovereign is crowned. And that grand cosmic design he was always dreaming of, it has been entirely replaced by the absolute, devouring silence of the living ink. He now oversees a completely barren landscape where no noble ambition can ever rise again. And he gets to do it all while smiling with my sinister grin.
As we close out this explainer, I want you to take a hard look at your own strict rules. Look at your own repressed vitality. Is your moral armor truly a shield of virtue? Or are you, just like the Pale Inquisitor, simply carving deep grooves into your soul, waiting to be filled by the living ink? Thank you for letting me guide you through this ledger today. Keep a very close eye on your shadows.